Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of your foldable. So in this video, we're going to be working way down here in the 6th section or tab 6 of your foldable. So find number 6 and you need to open it so that you are looking at that section. This is a mandatory part of your learning plan, so you need to make sure that you are paying attention because you need to know how to do this. So if you've done any other part of a foldable, you've already solved for some equations. Well, if you look at the ones here, most of these don't have a lot of numbers. You see a lot more variables. So it's the same process, but we have less numbers. So if we look at number 1, we want to solve for R. So my goal is just to get that letter completely by itself. So I always start on the side that has the variable I'm solving for. So R and T are next to each other, which means they are being multiplied. Well, the opposite of multiplication is division. And I'm just going to divide by the letter that I want to get rid of. I want to get rid of that T so I can have R by itself. So I divide the right side by T. That's how I get rid of the T on the right. And I divide the left side by T. And then I end up with R equals D over T. And that's it. So here, my answer is going to be D over T. Okay, it's just like when you have numbers, except we don't have numbers. So for example, number 2, I want to solve for W. That's what I want to get by itself. So I'm going to start looking at the right side. Remember, we do reverse or backwards PEMDAS. So I need to get rid of this 2L first. It is positive, so the only way to move it over to the other side is to subtract it. So it's gone from the right side. All I have left on the right is 2W. Here, I can't actually subtract those because they are not like terms. So all I'm going to do is put P minus 2L equals 2W. I don't have W by itself yet. I need to get rid of that 2. 2 and W are being multiplied, so I need to divide because division is the opposite of multiplication. That's how I get rid of that 2. And actually, let me write this way because it may make a little bit more sense. So instead of doing one big fraction, we're just going to divide each section by 2. So now I have W by itself. P divided by 2, can't actually divide that because they're not like terms. Bring down the minus sign. This 2 cancels this 2 out because 2 divided by 2 is 1. So all I have left, that doesn't really fit up here. We can rewrite it. Most of the time you're going to see the variable first. So W equals P over 2 minus L. And that's your answer. Okay. Now I'm solving for D. So I want to get that by itself. Well, on the side that has D, I'm dividing by 2. Well, what is the opposite of dividing by 2? It is multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. This 2 cancels out that 2. So I'm left with C plus D and then 2Q on the left. Well, I want to get D by itself, and it's being added to C. Well, that C is positive, so the only way to get rid of it is to subtract it, because the opposite of addition is subtraction, or the opposite of a positive is a negative. So those cancel out. I can't actually subtract those because they're not like terms. So 2Q minus C equals D. You can leave it like that. Most likely you're going to see it like this. D equals 2Q minus C. They're the same thing. All I did was I moved this up to the front because most of the time you're going to see the variable first. And then the last one, we are solving for R. So this one may look a little trickier because you see an exponent. So if we do backwards PEMDAS or reverse PEMDAS, right? I'm going to start with subtraction or addition. Well, none of this is being added or subtracted, so I can't do that. Can I divide or multiply anything? Well, I can divide because this is pi. Pi is being multiplied by r because they're next to each other. So I'm going to divide both sides by pi. All right, that cancels out. So I have r squared equals a over pi. I can't really do anything else here that means multiplication or division. But I do have an exponent. And the inverse, or to undo a squared, some of you may know you have to take the square root. You'll see these cool things. They're called radicals. You'll see those at the end of the year to get you ready for geometry. So this square root cancels out that squared. So then I have r on the right, and that equals, this just stays exactly the way it is. If you want to rewrite it to put the variable first, you can. And then it just becomes r equals the square root of a over pi. And that is your answer. Now, this last part is the summary. Okay? So you're going to look at this. And it says, using complete sentences, explain what steps you take to solve the following literal equation. So that is like this. Excuse me. What I would suggest doing is work it out. It says, now solve the equation for C and show all your work. Some of you can solve the problem, you just have trouble writing the steps. So solve the problem, and then as you're doing something, write it in here. We need to see what you can do by yourself. Once you think you got it, ask your teacher or use the key to check. Good luck.